Hi there everyone, welcome back to our Sunday school video for this week. I hope you have been enjoying these and learning a lot. We have been talking about the children of Israel in the wilderness, and last week you talked about how God sent them manna to feed them in the desert, and today we're going to talk about how God gave the children of Israel 10 rules or commandments to help them be more like Him and to show the rest of the world what He's like and what He expects. So we are going to talk a little bit more about that today, and how we'll go back and talk a little bit about how He was taking care of them in the desert, and then how He gave Moses the 10 commandments. So a commandment, like I said, is like a rule, and it's usually God's rule. Okay, a commandment is God's rule. So I want to ask you first, do you have any rules at your house? Can you think of rules that you have at your house? Can you think of rules that you have at school? Stop and think about that for a minute. All right? So a rule that we have at my house is to be kind and to treat each other respectfully, or to be tidy, to clean up after ourselves if we make a mess. And rules just help keep us organized, and they help us remember the right thing to do. And that's why God felt like the children of Israel needed these commandments. They needed these rules to keep them organized and to keep them in His will, and to help them remember what He's like and what He wants them to be like too. Okay? So we're going to read the story of the 10 commandments. And in this storybook Bible, it calls it 10 Ways to Be Perfect. And it's going to back up a little bit to, like I said, we're going to talk a little bit more about the manna and the children of Israel being in the desert, okay? You can see the picture there. I don't want to cover it up. So, there they all were. Grannies, granddads, babies, uncles, aunts, children, moms, and dads out there in the middle of the desert. They had blisters from all the walking, they were hungry and thirsty, and much, much too hot. "We don't like it," they said. "It stinks." And so did they, for that matter, because no one had taken a bath in weeks. Now remember, because this is something they'd forgotten, God had done amazing things for His people. He'd hidden them inside a cloud, He'd moved the sea, He'd set them free. But God's people still weren't happy. They didn't care about being free. Wasn't it better when they were slaves? At least they'd had lots of nice food to eat. God doesn't want us to be happy, they said. It was the same lie that Adam and Eve had heard all those years before. God has brought us out here to kill us. God doesn't love us. But they didn't know God very well, did they? Every day of their journey, God kept on showing His people how well He would look after them if they would trust Him and obey Him. When they were hungry, God made the sky rain with food, bread coming down from heaven. "What is it?" they asked each other. They didn't know, so they called it "What is it?" which of course is a very good name for something when you don't know what it is. When they were thirsty and started quarreling, God made water flow from a rock. Moses called that place Quarreling because that seemed like a good name too. And still, God's children didn't trust Him or do what He said. They thought they could do a better job of looking out after themselves and making themselves happy. But God knew there was no such thing as happiness without Him. So God led them to a tall mountain. God wanted to talk to His people and show them what He was like. He wanted to help them know Him better and tell them about the special land He was going to give them. "The whole earth belongs to me," God said, "but I have chosen you. You are my special family. I want you to live in a way that shows everyone else what I'm like, so they can know me too." This is Moses up on the mountain, and in his hand he's holding the stone tablets where God writes down the 10 commandments. Okay? God called Moses up the mountain. The great mountain shook, a thick cloud fell, thunder roared, lightning crackled, and God gave Moses 10 rules called commandments. "I want you to love me more than anything else in all the world, and know that I love you too," God told them. That's the most important thing of all. There's the children of Israel waiting on Moses. God gave them other rules, like don't make yourselves pretend gods, don't kill people, or steal, or lie, or want what your neighbor has. The rules showed God's people how to live and how to be close to Him and how to be happy. They showed how life worked best. God promises to always look after you, Moses said. Will you love Him and keep these rules? We can do it. Yes, we promise. But they were wrong. They couldn't do it. No matter how hard they tried, they could never keep God's rules all the time. God knew they couldn't, and He wanted them to know it too. Only one person could keep all the rules, and many years later God would send him to stand in their place and be perfect for them. Because the rules couldn't save them, only God could save them. Okay, so the 10 Commandments were important to the children of Israel because they showed them how much they needed God and how much they needed saving. And it also taught them about God and taught them about the love of God and how to treat each other. And it gave them something to work for and something to try their best for. And a lot of that had to do, like I said, with loving each other well. And that's really, really important. So I have a song about loving each other well. And it's called This Is My Commandment, that you love one another. And you've probably heard it, so go ahead and sing along with me, okay? This is my commandment, that you love one another, that your joy may be full. This is my commandment, that you love one another, that your joy may be full. That your joy may be full. That your joy may be full. This is my commandment, that you love one another, that your joy may be full. All right. I hope that you learned something new about the 10 Commandments, and I hope you all have a great week. We'll see you next week.